discovering your personal brand and how that attracts clients. So this is something that is sometimes brushed over or not really talked about in the world of copywriting when you're setting up your own freelance copywriting business, or quite frankly, any freelance business. But it's especially true for people who are copywriters or who are ghostwriters, because typically you are writing in your client's voice. And now what that means is you're often practicing adopting voices, tones, attitudes that are maybe slightly different than your own. But if you are going to set up a freelance copywriting business that's super exciting and makes you want to get out of bed every day, then I really, really recommend finding your own values, going after a niche that is super important to you so that you can build something that is in alignment with what you want to show up and give back to the world. It makes it all so much rewarding. And with that comes kind of figuring out what your own brand voice sounds like. And now that is something that takes a little bit of practice and figuring out, but also sometimes it takes time. So I wouldn't stress too much about this when you're first starting out. You have to make a lot of decisions as a new freelancer anyway, so don't let this stress you out way too much. But it's something that's worth thinking about, because what you put out is going to attract clients that resonate with your message, your values, your tone. So let's talk a little bit about how you can figure out what that brand voice is and how you make sure that it's really truly yours and not somebody else's. Because again, as a ghostwriter, technically it can be difficult to distinguish between the two. Oh, and by the way, I'm Sarah Turner. I am a freelance medical copywriter and copywriting mentor. And this is a really interesting topic to me because, quite frankly, I didn't think about it for the first few years of my business. But once I did, I got really specific and I really nailed down who I was as a writer, and it really helped attract just the right clients. So let's talk about some of the ways that you can figure out your brand voice. So again, I really believe it's your core values, the things that you really like to embody or are working to embody, that make your brand voice. Maybe that's creativity or humor or playfulness. It can also be being serious and somber. That's okay too. Maybe it's being at the forefront of cutting edge knowledge. Maybe it's being quirky or cute. Maybe it's actually just being empathetic and warm and open. There's so many different nuances that you can bring into your own brand voice. But I really believe, and this is the thing to kind of think about, that your brand voice flows out of your values. So this is something we kind of move throughout the world without really stopping and thinking about. But it's so important that when people come into my course, my writing course, it's actually the first thing I have them do is get really clear on what their core values are. Now, here's a tip. Oftentimes, we've adopted values that aren't really ours, or we've adopted values that belong really to society, but are not true to us. Maybe they're not as important to us as they are to society, for example. One way that you can kind of figure that out is if you've set a goal or you've set out to do something and you didn't accomplish it, oftentimes it's because it wasn't really in alignment with your values. Maybe that's going to college. Maybe it's achieving some sort of income goal. Maybe it's working in an industry that you get in and you're like, wow, I hate this. Maybe you started out in finance and you're like, why am I here? But maybe your parents or someone in your life was in finance. These are really common things that we do when we're not taking the time to stop and really look at it and think about it, which is why I want to encourage you to do that. So if you focus on your values, your brand will follow. So take some time, grab a pen and paper and journal. What are my core values? What are the things that light me up? What are the things that energize me? What are the things that are easy to say yes to? Are you showing up for other people often? Do you really like helping them? Are you an artist or a creative? Then creativity should absolutely be incorporated into your personal brand. Maybe you're serious. I think for a long time I was really hard on myself because I wanted to incorporate more humor into my copywriting. And what I've come to find out is that, quite frankly, that's not my tone. In life, I can be humorous and playful, but when it comes to communicating with people, I often get pretty serious and straightforward, and I actually have a no bullshit approach to how I like to communicate. And that has become kind of the personal brand that I've just kind of leaned into. So, being largely empathetic is a big thing. I love helping people. Honestly, those personality tests are great for figuring these things out. I love the Enneagram test if you haven't done that before, because it kind of talks about internal motivations and why we do things that we do. And I'm an Enneagram 2, which is the helper. So it is no surprise that every career choice I've ever made has been to help people. And anytime that I haven't chosen something that's helping people, I feel wildly unfulfilled. So these are the kinds of questions that are worth asking, because this is how you're going to set up a freelance business that is just so exciting to get up in the morning and get started every day. Now, one thing I want to say about personality tests is don't over-identify with them. That's something I'm seeing happening on like a large scale right now, is we love to do these personality tests and then say like, I am this, I am an ENFJ, whatever. I'm an Enneagram 2, I am an Aries. And it's one thing to use it as a tool for insight, but it's another thing to over-identify and create self-limiting beliefs with those personality traits. So use them. They're very helpful in figuring out like what are your core values, what makes you tick. Also, it's one of the most interesting things I think about the human experience. So another thing about why this is so important is if you don't take the time to define your values and figure out what your brand voice is, who you serve, who you don't serve, you end up trying to please everyone. This is actually another reason why I'm such a firm believer in picking a niche, because when you don't, you are going to be going after just about anyone. And again, that's not true for everyone. Some people have a great way of actually maintaining focus while staying a generalist. But for the most part, it's so much easier when you've actually taken the time to outline who you serve. Maybe you serve only sustainable brands. Maybe you serve only women-owned brands. Maybe you serve minorities. I mean, there are so many brands, businesses, organizations that are doing incredible things and need an impactful copywriter like yourself to come in and amplify their voice. It's so important. This is why I think it's really important also to push back against some of the beliefs that we have around marketing and sales, because there are bad guys in the marketing world and there are bad guys in the sales world. In fact, you've probably come across some of them, people who will do absolutely anything to get a sale. But at the end of the day, if you are actually in your values, working on your brand voice and working with clients who are in alignment with your values, what the beautiful, beautiful outcome of all of that is that you are actually helping people who need to be heard get into the hands of just the right people. That's also why as a copywriter, I always say to my clients, we're actually trying to go after just the right people, not everyone. Because frankly, most products or services don't serve everyone. So these are all important things to keep in mind. They're going to help you feel more confident as well. Because think about it. Anytime we've done things in our life where we have claimed a little bit more of who we are, we have felt more confident. And that's because you're really standing in who you are authentically, including in your brand, and it can be an extension of you. I want to say though that it could also be a little bit of a playful part of you. Like maybe you are not that humorous in life, but you find it to be really fun to be humorous and playful in your writing. That's also an option. There's so many ways to set up your business for success. This is one area though that I think is worth taking the time to actually think and write about, because so many people skip over it. It's funny, we as copywriters will help companies and brands and businesses sit down and figure out their core values and their branding and their voice, but we often skip and forget to do it for ourselves. I know I did for many, many years when I was starting my business. So take a step back. Have you done that for yourself? Because it's going to make your business so much more in alignment with what you want out of your day-to-day. So there's a lot of branding exercises out there that can give you ideas as to like how to sit down and do some exercises. I'm going to give you some of my favorites. first things first is doing mindset work, which is just one of my favorite things about being an entrepreneur, because anytime you invest in mindset work, it comes back not only in your personal life, but in your business. And mindset work can look like a lot of different things. It can be reading books, taking courses. It can be creating a morning routine, writing affirmations to push back against your core fears. It can be starting the day with gratitudes. Whatever it looks like, I think it's just mostly important that you're still operating from a place of curiosity and discovery. That is where so much of my own growth has happened and where I've seen the growth of so many. Another exercise I really think is important is to really discover your core values, not the ones that maybe other people have tried to instill in you. For example, maybe it's creativity and creating, maybe it's community, maybe it's children and development. Maybe it's supporting other people. Maybe it's amplifying certain voices. Maybe it's trying to make the earth a little bit better and healthier. I mean, there are so many different core values. Taking the time to really list them out and making sure you keep the ones that are yours and maybe push back or leave alone the ones that were instilled in you. It can make a big difference. It's very subtle, but it's just simply putting attention and awareness on this simple concept. Another thing that can be helpful is finding other brands that you really love, because at the end of the day, we're often attracted to what we really like. So who are you attracted to and why? That can be really, really telling in a very simple exercise. So these are some tools and tips on how to make your brand voice a little bit stronger, and it can often get left on the back burner as a ghostwriter, but it is so important because you are going to attract what you put out. So take the time to dig into this stuff. It's so worth it. It probably won't take you that long, but it will also keep your mind open and curious to figuring this out kind of as you move throughout your days, because it's not really something that you can just sit down and do in 10 minutes, but it's kind of a practice of being open and aware and making sure that you're setting up a business that's in alignment with you. Because quite frankly, that's how you build a business that you are running rather than it running you. And that is what makes this all worthwhile, truly. So I hope this helps. If it did, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. And of course, please don't forget to subscribe, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Thanks for being here, guys. I appreciate you.